Good morning, everyone. It's nice to talk to you. I think I've had a couple classes with you before, um, but it's nice to do it again. I really enjoyed this class, Fair Oak Small. I'm not really used to working with stuff in the Northeast. It was very fascinating for me as I'm from South Florida, and I now live in Houston, Texas, so quite different markets. So it's really fascinating how the Northeast differs from Florida or even Texas, and the residential and the office and the retail and how it all mixes. And it was just really fascinating to go through all of this and learn it for myself. So the Fair Oaks Mall was just very interesting, and this is something that a lot of developers are doing around the country. As you know, mixed use is becoming extremely popular, um, because we live in a society where people crave convenience. And so, how do you have convenience? By giving people everything in one spot, in one location, and that's exactly what the Fair Oaks Mall is trying to do. With the increase in e-commerce, retail is needed in such large quantity anymore in such a tangible area. So you really need to reduce your footprint with retail, and with home prices going up, the white picket fence American dream is a lot harder to come by. And so the rise in multifamily has skyrocketed to make it affordable for families. So it's just interesting looking and seeing this play out, in Fairfax, and go through it and look at the numbers. So it was really exciting to do. The first thing that we want to do, obviously, was look at the location. And, growing up in South Florida, basically I had three cardinal directions: north, south, and west. Anything east was ocean. So moving to Houston, I gained a cardinal direction, and Fairfax is in a great location. There's there's no lakes, there's no rivers, there's no oceans, there's no mountains, there's nothing impeding customers from coming to this property, which is great. That's ideal. And they're also sandwiched between two major highways, I-66 and Highway 80. So they really have nothing in their way as far as location is concerned. And I actually come from the construction industry, and one of the biggest challenges with construction is utility work and civil work. And you get a set of civil drawings from the civil engineer going through the sewer lines and the water lines and everything like that. And it looks expensive, and it is. And then you start digging up the ground and you realize that there's so much more under the ground that wasn't captured in as-builts from the previous project or something like that. So utility and infrastructure work is something that can always be the biggest variable that people don't really account for. There's a lot of change orders involved with construction in the very beginning stages, of a project, and it's very scary sometimes for people who don't realize that. But the benefit of this mall is, yes, it was built in the 1980s, so it is getting close to 50 years old, but there hasn't been anything new on that site. People know where all the infrastructure is that's underground, and there may only be a couple things that are unknown, but you kind of have it all figured out. As far as any other project is concerned, this is pretty less risky when it comes to utilities. Um, Also, the other big thing is how close you are to Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. is a 30-minute drive, and people are starting to commute to work and live outside of major cities. It's more affordable to do so, and you can raise a family, and you can have some more property sometimes. So that's another big thing is, this mall has great possibilities. And let's move on past location. So we want to get into the office market analysis and see how the growth is looking and the vacancy rates. And overall, it's pretty good. I mean, we're going to have a small amount of growth through 2030. It's not as much as I'm used to, but it's steady. And I actually think it's going to be higher than that. I kind of disagree that it's going to be 3.4. I see people moving from the city more towards Fairfax. The vacancy rate is pretty high, but as far as pre-leased, you're at 93.5%, which is very good, and the rental rates are pretty good too. I don't think that the Fair Oaks Mall is going to have an issue with vacancy in their development, because there's going to be a lot of high demand for that area. The Fair Oaks Mall, it's going to have so many benefits to it. You have office, residential, and retail all in one spot. This is ideal for an office because employees are now seeking amenities. They've been working from home for so long, or a majority of them have been working from home for so long, and they're used to that comfort style of working environment. And employers need to incentivize employees to come back to the office, and to do so, it's amenities. People want to be able to leave the office and go get lunch and go for a walk and maybe hit an errand and go to get some groceries or whatever. And this is the ideal spot for that. Employers are going to want to be there for their employees because their employees are going to want to work there. It's going to be extremely competitive for companies to want to move in here. So as far as the vacancy rate is concerned, for Northern Virginia, you're not going to have that problem here. For the residential market analysis, the growth is the same. I think that there is going to be more growth than that, but it is rising. It was interesting to see the demographic become widely more diverse, which I'm not surprised by that. And the amount of homes that are available, the current inventory, there really isn't that much. And going through a bunch of the information, it wasn't as substantial as what I'm used to. So I actually think that this is a small amount of inventory, and when it comes to competition, yes, Fairfax is going through and adding a bunch of redevelopment for affordable housing. So there is going to be competition. And I foresee the Fair Oaks Mall being a little bit more expensive just because the demand will be high. It is in a great location and you have so many amenities around you. It is going to be more expensive. Yes, I would say that it is affordable housing, but it will be an increase in price because you are paying for the amenities and the proximity and how easy it will be to jump on the highway and go anywhere in Virginia, essentially. So I feel like our case is a little bit different, but the demand is going to be really high, and Fair Oaks Mall will be able to charge a little bit more for their residential. As far as retail goes, it was interesting looking at food at home still being the most amount of money spent. In Houston, that is not the case. The majority of people are eating out more than they are eating at home, which has been interesting to see. So the food and beverage is way higher than the neighborhood goods and services here in Houston, but in Fairfax, it is still the neighborhood goods and services. People are still eating at home, but the rise in food and beverage is going up. more people are eating out, and you are seeing that across the country. It's just that is what people are going to for experiences, is eating at a restaurant, going out and having a drink. That is the new experience for people. Um, but the retail market is extremely competitive. Um, you're in a high urban area just outside of DC. There's a lot of competition, and you have to stick yourself. You have to make yourself stick out to be able to draw in customers that you wouldn't necessarily draw in. You have to have something that makes you stick out. And the Fair Oaks Mall has that in a small sense. It's not like it has something that's an amusement park that makes people drive 30 minutes or an hour out of their way to come to you. I mean, people are going to be coming here for convenience. That's just the reality. You're just right outside, right off the highway. People are going to be coming to you for convenience. But the great thing is that they do offer that. They offer a great amount of convenience. And people are going to want to come. The majority of the people are going to be from a 10-minute radius. Driving radius, that's going to be the majority of their customers, and then the small 10 to 15% will be people who are passing through or coming to do something else and then stop and say, hey, oh, I actually do need that, and then they'll come by. But they're going to be lowering the amount of retail on this property, and that's what people are doing across the country, and it's smart. The e-commerce industry is just skyrocketing. So the stores that they're going to choose to have in here are going to be very well known, and they're going to be known to attract customers and bring them in. And there's going to be a lot of demand to get in there, especially because retail space is dropping, inventory is dropping across the nation, and so there's just less and less space for people to have stores, and are just choosing to do online. So it's going to be incredibly competitive getting into here as a company. But if you do, it's going to be great business for you, because there's a lot going on with all the office space and the residential and everything like that. So whatever retail goes in here, they're going to be successful. So just the impact of mixed use, you have to be able to find the perfect mix to make it all work. And you really need to have retail and office space that works with residential, right? You can't have a club in there disturbing guests or disturbing people that are working. All three of these really have to mix and mesh well in order for it to work. So the residential is going to be taking up roughly 40 to 45%, which I think is a great amount. Retail 20 to 25, office 20 to 25, and open space and parks need to be 20 to 25. I completely agree with these amounts. I think this is what you need to do to really be successful on this property. Get people out and about, get people walking around. There doesn't need to be as many stores anymore. There needs to be open space and parks for people to be entertained. You need all of this. This is going to be a great space that really brings people together. People can truly live, work, and play in one area, and they don't even have to leave if they don't want to. What they're doing here is very smart. It's a lot of money and it's a major investment, but this is what the future is. And it's going to be interesting seeing all the sites pop up that do the exact same thing. I appreciate everyone listening, and I hope all of you had a happy Thanksgiving and a Merry Christmas, and I look forward to seeing you on more classes in the future. Thanks.